two things I want to build. First one's a Christmas tree. Probably a no-brainer, because, you know, Christmas and all. Second one? Church. Reason why is, I think I've told this story before, but there was one time I was at a really low point, like probably one of the lowest points in my life. I had massive anxiety going on around the time. Just general, I struggle with the fear of dying, of the end, of closing my eyes someday and eventually there being nothing, and like, I know not everyone's religious, but I am. And that day, and before that, I was atheist for a bit. Actually, no, I'm sorry. Let me restart the story. So it was Christmas around Christmas time, or at least winter a couple of years ago. I was still working mall job at a certain retail that I'm not gonna name. And I was not doing well mentally. I am terrified of dying. Terrified because, well, not as much anymore because of my belief, but I was terrified at the time, and it comes from me years ago having a revelation about death and like all. But that was it's the atheist belief of dying that, you know, you close your eyes one day and you're done. Your consciousness goes out and nothing. But I don't know. I think my subconscious just either doesn't believe it or didn't want to. And that day I was having a really bad day. I had a massive migraine. I was having anxiety attacks. I was trying to do my job, but I was crying the whole time through it. Not even my boss, who was actually really nice to me. Well, not my boss, but like a guy that really vouched for me. Him being around and all jolly and everything as Santa, because he was a bit of a round guy, didn't really help. And that night, right before I got outside, like hours before my job was over and all, I prayed to myself, begging Jesus, if he was there, please let it snow tonight, because I don't believe it snowed, like, heavily for years around the time. And I've been living with my mother for a couple years, which is a whole different story in itself, so I won't get into that. And that night, it snowed. And I'm not talking like a small little one. I'm talking an actual semi-blizzard. And I also kind of got a revelation that night, I believe. I believe it was that night. It might have been another, but it was so close that I kind of compile it on there. I do not like these random leaves. And ever since that day, my life has turned around for the better. I used to be working a not great job, living with family, that practically socially abused me and just used me. And I went from that to rekindling. Well, not rekindling. I, at the time, was not really talking with my father. And very shortly after that, I started rekindling, well, talking again with him. And then from there, it went from that to actually moving down with him in order to set my life straight, to actually living. Sure, it was hard at first because my dad is very, he's a bit of a hard ass. He's very strict, but at the end of the day, he does care. I like this. I like this because it clears a good path for me to make it to the water. This kind of sucks. And now I don't have the greatest job ever, but that's okay because I live on my own. I am a lot better. How is that still there? That's insane. I'm gonna have to figure out a way to trap him or bring him up sometime. There we go. So that should be enough. That's definitely enough for the tree. Not sure if that is enough for that. But yeah, at the end of the day, there, Jesus basically saved me. And I've, ever since, I have attempted to be as faithful of a Christian as I physically can. Though, we are not perfect. None of us are.